Hi everybody. Finally, I've managed to get my face in the circle. So the more you do something, it's true. Practice makes almost perfect. We have a few storms going all morning, so if you hear some thunder, I'm sorry about that. And I do have the fan still going. So if you have a look at this picture here, I liken this photo to my mind when I was in the organization. I didn't know that I was in darkness. I had no idea. But suddenly there was a crack and some light started to come through the door. And at first, that light scared me. And I sort of recoiled and went right to the back of this dark room because it felt safe. But it's like that song, you know, the crack is where the light gets in. And a crack could be a question, could be a doubt. It could be something that you hear that makes you think differently to what you've been told and what you've actually been forced to believe. Because if you have no choice, if you can't leave with honor, if you're not free to decide, if you can't use your God-given gift of free will, then you're forced. And it's no different from being a citizen of North Korea or a country that is living under a tyrannical regime, because the mind is what these regimes are after. It's the same thing. So we don't know that we're in darkness until the light comes in slowly and swallows up the darkness. And there's a scripture about that I really like. So it's frightening. It's scary. Imagine if you're young and you're in a family that are all believers, a couple of generations of believers, and that light is starting to filter through the crack. It's a tough call, that. It's a really tough call. Well, this light often starts with questions. Our brain is indoctrinated and it has a lock on it. But once that light starts to filter through, there's always a certain question that begins to niggle at the back of our mind. And left unanswered, it turns to doubt, and doubt grows. But we have to actually open the door little by little. And at first, just touching the handle of the door is frightening, it's terrifying. Or we have to put the key in the lock and slowly start to turn it. The beginning of anything can be hugely exciting, but there's always a fear factor. And when you're starting to question what you were indoctrinated in, that is a terrifying situation. So eventually you open the door to this dark room and the light has swallowed up darkness, the light of knowledge. And you actually find out that the room has always been utterly empty. Not only devoid of light, but bereft of anything. And that is a shock. The more I found out that what I had always believed in was not true, I was in shock each time. And that shock can turn to anger because you finally realize that you've always been on the road to nowhere. And the loneliness sets in Now, in the country town that I lived in, on a Thursday, a bunch of witnesses would do their witnessing out there. And of course, I would go for my walk and they would drive by. And that loneliness would really, really trouble me, because here I am, virtually out in the world of nowhere. I'm deep in the heart of the country, and there's no one at that point. But I remember one of the neighbours, we used to call on him, and he had a Bible next to his chair that he used to sit in. And so one day I went up and I said to him, I asked him a question. I said, "Does God love me?" And I told him my story, and he was just aghast. He said, "How can God not love you? God loves everyone." And I was in shock to hear that, because I still felt that I was unworthy, that I was of no value, that I was worthless. And I think that's the effect that shunning does have on you. You know, it's a mental fight. Freedom, after a while, felt strange. Choices. I could choose to create my own life. That's a huge, huge choice. Exciting, but also scary. A period of exploration opens up to you. Who am I now? What do I believe? What life do I want to create? Before, life just went on and you just stepped into the march and marched along with everyone else. Now you get to choose the life you want to create. That's a very exciting thought. What can I trust? Whom can I trust? And how do I deal with choice? So sometimes when you wake up, you do it slowly. There's a gradual process. And I think in a lot of ways that's better. It's always good to process things. But I remember one ex-witness, she had pioneered for donkey's years. And then she watched the Australian, the ARC, the Australian, I forgot the name, but it's just gone from my head. You know, the sexual abuse Australian, what is that? Australian Royal, I've completely forgotten what it is, but you know what it is, ARC. And it was about the sexual abuse of one ex-witness. Poor girl was abused terribly. I believe it was by her father. And when she heard one of the governing body members, and I actually went I was in the same congregation as he was when I was a child. I was in that congregation, and he was older than I was. And when he said that, they wouldn't be presumptuous to believe that, they could be the only channel to God, words into that effect, she was done. She said, "I am done." Australian Royal Commission, there you go. And she said that was it. So right there and then, in one dramatic moment, it was over for her. And I can imagine just how shocked she must have been. So we've got to deal with the impact of shock. It's so disorientating. To think that I invested my most precious resource, which is time, and you invested your most precious resource, time, all that time sitting in conventions, saving up to go to international conventions, very, very, all your time is gone. And it's just so involved in this organization. The person you marry, you really don't have much choice. And all of a sudden, you have to think, how am I going to invest my time now? So much of my time and money has been siphoned by this organization. How do I handle that? Well, I always like to think when I'm thinking about healing and recovery, I think about the rabbit and the tortoise. I've got a little snail here, which symbolizes go slow, slow everything down. Say to yourself, I don't need to solve my entire life today. I don't have to do it tomorrow. I don't have to do it this month, and I don't have to do it this year. And spend time doing ordinary things because your nervous system needs space. It needs space to unravel. All the shock, the rejection, it's a lot to handle. It really is. And some people are more resilient than other people. I remember one of the lawyers saying to me, a lot of people that leave high control organizations, they have breakdowns. But try and look at it as a breakthrough. Try and think as positively as you can because you've got to heal. It's like you've just had the biggest kick in your brain. They've kicked your brain in, and your brain's starting to spring back, but it's damaged, it's hurt. You really are weak and wounded, and you need to be with positive people. So try and join groups. Even a different church for a little while that isn't high controlling can help you a lot. Be around positive people. That is just so important. Make a friend because you really do need a support network. And if you're young and you're thinking of leaving, well, there's a lot of responsibility out there. So make a good, reliable network. I often think, I don't know if one exists, how wonderful it would be for XJWs. And if you have made one, that's great. That there is a place that young Jehovah's Witnesses that have woken up, that are in their late teens, can come and get help and get a little bit of mentoring. That would be fantastic. Now, you've got to separate the fear from the belief. Just say to yourself, when you catch yourself with your thought in a groove, I don't believe this anymore, but I'm still afraid of it. And it's okay to be afraid. I still get caught in a groove, and my husband has to say, that is the organization's thinking. It's not black and white like that. So remember, I don't believe this anymore, but I'm still afraid of it. Just let the fear, don't fight the fear. It will go eventually as you face it. We've been taught that leaving means destruction, eternal destruction. So don't feed the fear, distract it. Whenever you feel the fear coming up inside of you, do something positive. Go for a walk, ring up a friend, go out for coffee, go and visit somebody, do something that you like, but don't feed that fear, distract it. Now, the all or nothing mindset was one of the biggest things I had to get rid of. My all or nothing mindset. True, false, good, bad, us, them. And at times I still suffer with that type of thinking. Now, the goal isn't to necessarily destroy your old identity. Keep whatever you genuinely believe belongs to you, your kindness, your goodness towards people. Keep those things. Excuse me. They're all good things to keep. But you're going to start building a new you. And that is going to be exciting. Remember, just do it slowly. I'm now 61, I left at 47. You know, at least 5 years, there was quite a bit of a struggle after I left. Now I'm at peace. You know, I'm not around, JWs at all, at least not for the last 12 years. And I've purposely done that. You know, I'm not looking them up on Facebook to see what they're doing. I'm not interested. I've started a new life. I have a good husband, and I moved. So I'm not surrounded by all of that shunning. Somebody said they don't shun anymore. I don't know, because I don't keep up with what goes on in the organization. Sometimes I hear things, like new light. You can store your blood or whatever. And that's quite disturbing to hear, because I think of all those children that have died. And the thought is I could have been one of them very easily, or my child. So I try and just, every morning that I wake up, I think, wow, I've got this day. How can I fill it positively? Sure, at times negative thoughts do enter into my mind, but distract them. You can't always get rid of them straight away. But if you do something else, eventually your thoughts will start to focus on the new thing that you're doing. You don't have to go out into the world and, get into drugs and drink and think I've missed out on all these things. I can tell you that from 16 to 24, I was a naughty girl, and I went out and I got involved in practically everything. And those things wounded me practically just as much as the witness indoctrination did. So think about, do I want to believe in God? Some people become atheists. Some people leave JW teachings and they still believe in God. I was one of those people. I'm so glad that I took that route. Everybody has their God-given free will. So take your time to think about what you want, what matters to you. This is your time, and you are in convalescence in a way. Now, this video might be a little bit long, and I apologize for that, but I do think it's a really important subject. And if you're out there and you're thinking of leaving, you're not alone. You can write to me on here, and I'll give you my email address, and, I'll help you. I want to help you. I was in your shoes. I'm not going to preach to you. You've already gone through that. But you're not alone. And if you're young, you're not alone. We still love and care for our ex-JW people and the people in there. They're still human beings, but they're just indoctrinated. As Raymond, it was Raymond Franz, is that right? I may have got it wrong. Am I showing my age? He said that his book, to be captive to a concept. So I'm here for you, definitely. And I want to be here for you with my whole heart. So I am sorry this is a little bit long, and I do realize if you can't watch the whole thing. But have a nice day, and God bless you all. You're all very brave people. God bless you.